This video will contain spoilers for both The Shining and 1 Hour Photo.
And this is for room 217.
Yeah, we're 511, right? We're 511.
There's a scene in the movie 1 Hour Photo where Robin Williams' character, Cy Parrish, has stalked a cheating husband and his mistress to a hotel, and to trick them into giving him their room number, he pretends to be room service and asks if they're in room 217. They then correct him and give him the real number. The number 217 might be familiar for Stephen King fans, as this is the same hotel room number that's featured prominently in the book, The Shining, a number that was changed to 237 for the 1980 movie version, which is probably the number you're more familiar with. The makers of 1 Hour Photo could have chosen any random room number for that scene, but they chose that one. It could be a coincidence, but for reasons I'll soon get into, I don't think it was. You may say, so what? Even if it is a direct reference, there are plenty of other horror movies that reference the number 237.
There was an announcement in the background for Flight 237.
Flight 237.
That's what we call a little Easter egg. Really easy one to do.
And it shows up in non-horror movies.
Who's Velocistar 237?
Oh,
But this nod to The Shining from 1 Hour Photo highlights something deeper, and that's that, if you look closely, 1 Hour Photo shares a striking amount of DNA with The Shining throughout. Both movies deal heavily with the themes of isolation and family. Both movies feature a nuclear family of 3, a husband, a wife, and their young son. In both movies, the father is shown to be emotionally distant from the wife and son. There are many shots stylistically similar between both movies. Both movies feature a hotel room scene that involves adultery, and both movies end with a close-up shot of the main character in a picture that may not be real. On top of all this, it's been reported that Robin Williams was considered for the role of Jack Torrance in The Shining before Jack Nicholson was picked, but there have been some other reports refuting that. Robin Williams did, funny enough, end up starring in Popeye that same year alongside The Shining's own Shelley Duvall. What has been confirmed, though, by 1 Hour Photo director Mark Romanek is that Jack Nicholson was originally offered the role of Robin Williams' character Cy in 1 Hour Photo, but turned it down because he thought the role was too similar to Jack Torrance in The Shining. Well, sorry to disagree with Jack Nicholson, but the character Cy seems to be written to be the opposite of everything Jack Torrance represents. Seen through the eyes of Cy, 1 Hour Photo could be viewed as the anti-The Shining. First, let's explore The Shining for a minute. The Shining is a movie where an aspiring writer named Jack Torrance moves with his wife Wendy and 5-year-old son Danny to a hotel in the mountains he's agreed to watch over while it's closed for the winter. He's hoping that the quiet isolation away from everything will help him focus on his writing without distraction. We also learn early in the movie that he's a former alcoholic that, after a previous incident where he had drunkenly dislocated Danny's arm, was influenced by Wendy to become sober. Well, as the movie goes on and he's isolated in the hotel with no one but Wendy and Danny, he starts to lose his mind and eventually tries to kill them with an axe. There's also a lot of implied supernatural things that happen in the hotel throughout the movie, with both Jack and Danny seeing hotel guests that lived there in the past, it often being ambiguous which might be ghosts and what might just be in their heads. Trust me when I say there are many theories out there about what The Shining's truly about. There's a whole documentary that gets into many wild ones, but two themes that I think are clear are the themes of isolation and family.
Isolation can, of itself, become a problem.
Not for me.
What happens to a family when they're isolated by themselves with no one else around and nothing much to distract them? What true colors come out? It quickly becomes clear that Jack is an absent father. Jack is never shown spending quality time with Danny. While Jack is busy writing, Danny just rides around the hotel on his tricycle or plays with his toys. When Jack takes breaks from writing, rather than play catch with Danny, Jack just angrily plays catch with a wall. While Wendy and Danny play outside in the snow, Jack just stares blankly out the window. We see Jack's suppressed resentment of his family slowly come out, which could be partly explained by his higher career aspirations, from which he sees his family as a distraction, but also because he has a dormant party side to him that's been locked away due to the responsibility of family life, the hotel being a physical representation of the shell of that former lifestyle. It's a reminder to him of the lifestyle he'd like to be able to live, but now would have to leave behind. There's a big ballroom for hosting parties that's now empty, with a bar that's been cleared of its alcohol.
Boy, I bet you we could really have a good party in this room, huh, hon?
We always remove all the booze from the premises when we shut down.
There's also pictures on the wall throughout the hotel that we later see are of old events and parties. This is the lifestyle Jack would rather live. Now it's all dangled in front of his face, taunting him and making him slowly resent his family more. He eventually starts hallucinating past people and events from the hotel coming back to life, or maybe they're actually ghosts. Either way, he feels more at home with them than he does with his own family. Another thing Jack has been forced to suppress in marriage is lusting for other women, which we get our first small glimpse of as Jack subtly checks out 2 women when he first tours the hotel. This comes fully to fruition later in one of the movie's key scenes when Jack enters room 237, where he sees a naked young woman get out of a bathtub. Again, she might be a fantasy or an actual ghost, but either way, it's clearly something that excites him. He doesn't hesitate to start making out with her, but soon sees she's transforming into an older decomposing woman, causing him to back up in horror. Hotel rooms often thematically represent adultery, and here we see a window into Jack's mind in true colors. Basically, he'd love to be able to hook up with younger women when given the opportunity, but now that he's locked into marriage and committed to growing old with Wendy, he sees the older decomposing woman as a reminder that that's what he has to look forward to. When he's one day a big shot writer, he won't be able to hook up with all those groupies.
I've never met a writer before. You must be really smart.
So then Jack tries to purge Wendy and Danny from his life for good. On the flip side, we have the movie 1 Hour Photo, which has a lot of similarities to The Shining and deals with themes of isolation and family, but told through a much different perspective. The main character, Cy Parrish, played by Robin Williams, is a photo tech who processes pictures for people who bring in their cameras with the completed reel of film. Yes, believe it or not, before there were digital cameras, this is something people used to do to get pictures. Outside of work, Cy lives a lonely life. No significant other, no friends, and no family. As a result of his loneliness, Cy obsesses over the life of the Yorkins, a family that regularly comes in to get their pictures processed. Every time he develops pictures for them, in addition to the 2 sets of copies that the family orders, he makes an extra set for himself to take home, which he keeps as a collage on his wall. The family, much like the family in The Shining, is a family of 3, with a wife, a husband, and their young son. Cy has developed the family's photos for years, and keeping the photos gives him the closest sense of what it would be like to have his own family, something he desperately wants. He even tells the wife Nina at one point that since he's known the family for years and watched the son Jake grow up through the pictures, he kind of feels like Uncle Cy, and it's clear that he would love to live in a world where the family views him the same way. When we as the audience see glimpses into the family's home life, glimpses that Cy doesn't see, we learn that the father Will is very consumed by his work and is emotionally distant, something that his wife Nina mentions is causing problems for both her and their son Jake. Eventually, Cy learns that Will is cheating since his mistress brings in pictures of her and Will together. Cy is horrified as his image of this seemingly perfect family is ruined, appalled by the idea that someone would take for granted and potentially throw away the very thing he's always wanted. He slips the photo of Will cheating into the family's photos so that Nina will see it, and as mentioned before, he stalks Will and his mistress to a hotel room, and it's here where he forces them to pose for pictures in sexually suggestive positions so he can make them feel the full guilt of what they're doing. He wants Will to feel the full magnitude of his actions and what the consequences could be. So now, in reconnecting the 2 movies, 1 Hour Photo, as we talked about, bridged a connection to The Shining by referencing its room number, and while we explored how both movies deal with family isolation and infidelity in their own way, I disagree with Jack Nicholson in feeling that the character of Cy is particularly similar to the character of Jack Torrance. While both characters are the psychologically unstable ones of their respective movies, and also we get a strong window into both characters' psychology, particularly surrounding family, both have polar opposite views on the matter. Jack is coming from the perspective where all the supposed downsides of family life and isolation with just his family has brought about his demons, whereas Cy has been isolated fully by himself and lived a much harsher reality, knowing that while many men might sometimes feel trapped as husbands and fathers, having no one is a lot worse. This leads to probably the most striking parallel between the two movies, their final shots. While The Shining closes by zooming in on a picture of Jack, 1 Hour Photo ends by zooming out from a picture of Cy. When we get the full context of each picture, we see that it's each character in the element they'd feel most happy. It's questionable how real each picture is, the picture in 1 Hour Photo almost certainly not being real, which shows a group family photo of the Yorkins, with Cy right beside them, being accepted as the Uncle Cy he always wanted to be. The picture at the end of The Shining shows Jack at a 20s 4th of July party in the hotel ballroom, seemingly forever single and surrounded by other people, ready to party. These are the photos that have surrounded the characters throughout their respective movies, and now they get to live in them. You could say that the character of Jack Torrance is better embodied in 1 Hour Photo by the character of Will Yorkin, but in a less extreme way because, hey, at least Will doesn't try to kill his family with an axe. Nonetheless, Will Yorkin spends more time at a desk than with his family and is willing to risk the state of his family life on an affair.
Will Yorkin had it all and he threw it all away.
Also worth noting, it's heavily implied by the end of 1 Hour Photo that Cy was the victim of child abuse, which puts him more in line with the character of Danny Torrance, who we also know was the victim of child abuse at the hands of his father. The psychological damage that Cy carries likely stems back to his abuse, and it's something that Danny could face in the future. Danny's only possible escape could be to leave his world behind while he still has his innocence, and go play with the 2 dead girls.
Forever and ever and ever.
It's all okay though, because Danny grows up to be Obi-Wan Kenobi. One thing that helps give The Shining its visually distinct style is its frequent use of tracking shots, which is something 1 Hour Photo heavily borrows. Often it's one character alone in the center of the frame, either directly head-on or from behind, and we follow them moving for a long period of time. It's used for several different characters in The Shining, and primarily with Cy in 1 Hour Photo. Make of this what you will. It could be used to highlight how we're following these different characters' perspectives as they navigate isolation. Or it could just be a cool stylistic shot that The Shining landed on that 1 Hour Photo used as an homage. So, you could say that 1 Hour Photo using room 217 as the fake hotel number and all the other details are just coincidence, and it's possible. I'm also not sure why they changed the number back to the book's number, possibly to make the reference more subtle. But I'll say this, had Jack Nicholson starred as Cy Parrish as he was initially approached to do, and you simply sub him in for Robin Williams, 1 Hour Photo would seem like a very clear spiritual successor to The Shining, again, with the shoe on the other foot. Maybe Jordan Peele is right when he says that simply referencing The Shining's room number is an easy homage to do, but a movie being a worthy companion piece to The Shining, bouncing off its themes while having its own unique voice and perspective, is something else entirely. That's all I've got for you. If you think of any other similarities between the two movies, please let me know in the comments. Also, please hit the like and subscribe button if you'd like to see more videos like this in the future.